option to allow traffic northbound at Palafox and Guard Street. The key thing, though, is that we reduce the volume of eastbound cars turning left from Guard onto Palafox. That's the main movement in this intersection that causes the level of service to be where it is, and the degradation of that if we were to allow the northbound traffic there. So with that, I believe Mr. Kimbrough is going to speak to the overall strategy of communication with the businesses downtown and that sort of thing. So,
Madam Chair,
I have a question about the Baylen Street. Now, in the afternoons, there are quite a few people that use the Baylen Street to go not only to Chase and go on the interstate, but they also use it to go straight up to Cervantes and get on the interstate. How would that impact? Because I've been there when nothing will happen with that flow of traffic.
no, ma'am, that'd be the same. I mean, and that's actually a good question, Madam Chairperson. We basically will be looking at the timing of the intersection of Chase and Baylen and Chase and Palafox to allow for that movement to 110, but the northbound movement on Baylen won't be affected at all.
Okay,
Madam Chairwoman, members of the committee, thank you. This, if you recall, you've seen this before. This is actually the front cover to the downtown retail strategy that was our team of consultants presented to you back in December of last year. I'm happy to tell you that there are a number of things that were items that were recommended as action items that are underway, both by the retail property owners, the retailers themselves, as well as the DIB, and most importantly, the city. If you recall, one of the primary objectives that was identified as an early phase activity, and that was critical and foundational for many of the additional prescribed actions, was converting the main street of downtown, which is Palafox, back to two-way traffic. The reasons given at that point were increasing visibility and access for the businesses along that street by 100% simply by adding two-way traffic, connecting tourists, the literally millions of tourists that they were able to document that go down east-west on Main Street between our major tourist attractions who cannot find their way into downtown right now, giving them a route and a passageway into the core of downtown and our many independent businesses. And it also pointed out by our consultants that nationally, on average, when a commercial or a retail street that is previously one-way goes to two-way traffic, within 12 months of that conversion, the average increase in sales of the businesses along that street is around 20%. And that's a substantial increase by doing nothing but switching the street back and forth. That assumes literally nothing else happens. So obviously that's very important. We attempted to address several items. Delivery, and we heard from the property owners, we heard from the business owners. We have had numerous meetings with the delivery companies, group meetings as well as individual meetings, and there were two issues that consistently came up. How are we going to deal with deliveries, and if we take deliveries off of Palafox, where are we going to put them in a way that allows them to still be able to get to their customers within a reasonable distance? And this picture is included. That picture actually was taken in early September, and you can see the trailer on the left is stopped, the U.S. food operation is stopped, and the UPS truck is stopped. So the current situation really isn't working either. Two-way would actually in many ways address that in a very positive way. We are committed, the DIB, through its parking management district, has adopted two changes actually, subject to the two-way of Palafox reoccurring. The first one is we are proposing to create 8 commercial loading zones. Those 8 commercial loading zones would occur by taking 3 existing loading zones and making them a little larger to handle over-the-road vehicles, creating 1 completely new commercial loading zone on Government Street, and adding 2 shared zones as well on North Palafox, and that was a recommendation, I might add, from the delivery companies. We identified 20 what we call regular delivery companies that come into downtown either daily or weekly to service multiple clients. We've met with all 20 of those and gotten really good feedback, and it was actually their recommendation that we have those shared zones on North Palafox between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. Monday through Saturday. They would be for commercial use only, and after 10 a.m. they go back to 2-hour shared parking. We've provided you collateral in your packet that addressed the notification and the communications that have gone on over the last several months with the delivery companies, as well as with the property owners and the business owners. We've also held a public hearing prior to the DIB taking the action that it took. This is actually a copy of the agenda item from the mass meeting of delivery companies, and as I mentioned, there are 20 regular. 15 of them were in attendance. We have also met individually one-on-one with the additional 5 that were not. That's a sign-in sheet from that same meeting in late August. This is a notice of the public hearing that was held on the 4th of September. This was mailed to every property owner and every business owner of record within the Parking Management District, as well as publicly advertised in the Pensacola News Journal. The DIB has adopted changes to the penalties for non-compliance with commercial loading zones, because they would only be eligible for commercial use by commercial vehicles. And we are proposing, we have adopted a recommendation to take that fine to $100. Impeding traffic, that means stopping or parking in the middle of the traffic lanes on South Palafox or on South Baylen. As is currently occurring, once those go to two-way, that will not be possible anymore, and so the fine for that would also be $100. However, I should point out that as soon as the council takes its action through the CRA, the CRA takes its action in regards to implementing this overall strategy, we will immediately begin with our parking enforcement officers an educational component to help the delivery drivers as well as the users, and these are some examples of those, actually what the notices will look like. One is for folks who are illegally and improperly using the new commercial loading zones, and one is for trucks and vehicles that are parked in the traffic lanes of South Palafox and Baylen. And in both cases, there are maps on the back of these notices, color maps, that show them where the public parking is located, or in the case of the delivery companies, this map right here, which shows them where the commercial loading zones are located. The intent here is to change behavior, and we are quite encouraged by some of the other cities that we've spoken to as to the reality of it's an educational process, and you really end up giving very few true tickets.
Madam Chair.
Yeah, Mr. Kimbrough, you said that there were going to be 2 designated loading zones for the 2 hours on Palafox Place. Is that in front of the establishment?
Yes, ma'am. If you'll notice on that map, it's number 7 and number 8. Number 8 is the northernmost bay on the east side. That is in the area between the Masonic Lodge, the buildings owned by Jim Flournoy, and Hopjacks. And number 7 is the middle bay on the west side, and that's the area Global Grill essentially is the primary tenant there. Those would be commercial loading only between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. Monday through Saturday. Within that block, there are only 3 businesses that open before 10 a.m. So the impact is very, very minimal. In fact, the delivery companies think that is just absolutely fabulous. The impact to the businesses is really almost negligible.
All right, thank you. Yes, Mr. DeSobo. Okay.
Where are the merchants in all this? How are they in this transition of the 2 lanes?
Councilman DeSorbo, I would suggest to you, I don't want to sit here and tell you that there is 100% agreement, because there is not. Anything that involves change, and especially something like the direction of the street that has been in place for more than 30 years, there are some who are skeptical. They are concerned. Their concerns usually go into 2 categories. One is, will my customers be able to figure this out? Will it confuse them and make them not want to keep coming? And the other concern that we tend to hear, it really deals with the delivery companies. But we think we have nailed the delivery company issue in a way that actually makes them happier than the situation they've got right now.
Can you give me some kind of a consensus? Is it a 10%, 20%, 30% disapproval, or?
No, I would say it's 90% approval.